Greetings, everyone. I have to be honest with you, I really don't know what I should do, Should I once again greet everyone, say hello every time I start a new episode? I don't even know if I'm going to break this episode into, series into 4 or 5 episodes, or if I'm just going to finish off everything just in one episode itself. Now, that would be 2 episodes because I just finished one episode the other day. Hey, so anyway, I've just realised one thing, have you? I've been saying anyway too often. Maybe I should change it. But let's go on. I was just going to say anyway, and in my mind I said, I'm not going to say anyway again. Oops, I'm digressing. Okay, let me begin from where I left off the previous episode. Let's see, what was it? 40 years. 40 years since I've been in Pune. During that period, I've been involved in football and rugby, leaning more towards football as compared to my brother, but still pretty involved in rugby. My life has revolved around the 2 sports, including fitness training or strength and conditioning as it's now called. And for those of you who just clicked and wondering what I'm talking about, I've been talking about this series which I've started, that question, when will India qualify for the World Cup? Or you can also combine it with, why hasn't India qualified for the Football World Cup? So let me carry on, What was I saying? I've grown up during the pre-color TV and pre-internet era and can see clearly how much the people of this planet take their world for granted. But all that is obviously another story. What I'm trying to say to those people that don't know who I am, because I know that most of the people that know me have total faith and trust in what I say, is that my experience in playing and coaching and observing is more than enough to give you an answer to when India will qualify for the Football World Cup. Not only that, but I'll give a straightforward solution to how India can be a superpower in football or soccer to those of you from the US of A. From the time I've been living in India, I've understood one simple thing. Did I say understood? Why would I say understood? There's so many accents I keep trying to work with. Sometimes you please forgive me. I sometimes say stuff like understood, like I said right now, whether you know it or not. Anyway, let me carry on. What was I saying? All this time I've been living in India, I've understood one simple thing, which I won't get into right here, as I've promised myself that I won't talk about politics, religion, cricket or fireworks. Yes, fireworks. Simply because I've only one life and I'm not prepared at this moment in time to lose it yet. And yes, if I talk about the 4 things I just mentioned, most definitely the next time you'll hear of me is when you read a small notification somewhere about my death. Maybe on some local news channel. Something like, foreigner dies after fist fight. The local police were pleased to note that the man that died was not in fact a foreigner, but only looked and behaved like one. Pleased only because the case will remain local and not become an international event. The fact that he was brown hinted to him being local. Anyway, he was killed yesterday when a group of extremely angry-looking thugs with bamboo sticks whacked him. He tried to use his fists, but to no avail. In other news, a cat called Knappy has become world famous in Pune. And that's why I won't be speaking on these topics. Now, straight to the title of this episode, the Football World Cup and when India will qualify. My first straight answer is quite simply, never. It's the same as the answer I gave to a person that had interviewed me some time ago. People can hope though, but unless this country does a few things, this negative answer won't change. There were many times, in fact, when I was asked by local newspapers and others about India and the World Cup. Soon enough, they stopped asking me and calling me altogether. Why? I'm guessing because they were looking for someone with a hope and a short-term plan. I was giving a quarter of a century plan. Yes, 20 to 25 year plan for India to have a chance of qualifying. And then their faces fell. And I did say something to give them hope, as it was a short-term plan that I was suggesting. I told them that there are 2 ways India can qualify for the Football World Cup pretty quickly. The easiest one is to host the World Cup. And as the host gets automatic qualification, voila! Job done. The other is to bribe your way to qualifying. They laughed when I said this, but my face was as serious and serene as could be. I wasn't joking. But before moving on with this topic, I want to speak about something else I just mentioned, about short-term plans. After staying in this country for close to 40 years, sorry for keeping on repeating this, but let me carry on. Without once going on holiday, yes, I've never been on a holiday, but that's another story for another day, and I hope I can share it with you at some point and we can have a few laughs along the way. What I've realized is that every decade, when people talk about the modern generation, or Gen Z, or Gen Z, or whatever, they come up with their theories. But what I've understood from gauging them over so many decades is that they want everything fast. The results should be instant, like an instant coffee or an instant packet of noodles. What they fail to realize is that having something quickly comes with a price that is not good for the long term. When you talk about instant things like coffee or noodles, that's fine, as it quenches your thirst or your caffeine addiction and your hunger, and unless you constantly have this kind of beverage or food, it won't harm you in the long term. A short-term solution in sport almost never bodes well as a long-term solution. When you talk about longevity in sport, you need to think in terms of a good wine or beer or a slow cooked fur. But it isn't actually all doom and gloom for those short-term quick-fix exponents. I do have a plan for them, but this plan will require a hell of a lot of work and money. Let me explain by giving you an example. When I was a kid, Spurs, Liverpool and Man United had come to Swaziland for a holiday and to play a few matches. We met most of the players and thought the world of them. For the little brown kid like me, they seemed enormous in stature. They were gods to me. Time has passed and I've realized now that they were not gods, nor were they that big. Obviously 40 years on and the general strength and conditioning of the Europeans has increased, but not by crazy amounts. Not only Europeans, but those living in other parts of the world too. The USA, for example, and the South Americans, Fiji, Australia, Japan, and etc. Maybe not Japan as much, but they can't be excluded. There are many more. Why is this so? The obvious reason being that the diet of all the people has improved, especially those seriously involved in sport. While strength and size may not be that important in non-contact sport, it does make a big difference in contact sports. In India, those from the northern parts and a few states across the country do actually have a good chance as their diet is good. As the years went by and what I hope is maturity began growing in me, I began thinking on the lines of how I would get India to qualify for the Football World Cup if I was tasked with doing that. The story in my fantasy world went along the lines of aliens from the planet ZX5443, or in their language, wanted to take over the Earth and decided that the winners of the football match between them and India would decide the Earth's fate. They scanned the Indians living in India with their superior and very advanced tools and singled me out as being the only Indian capable of coming up with an Indian squad that would give them a tough fight. For they did not want to take over the earth in such a way that they would be accused of stealing a baby. They were a proud alien world, you see. The aliens made sure that this country was forced to abide by my words, and everyone was waiting for my orders. Yes, I did tend to swim in my imagination for days on end. I was pretty alone in my youth, but once again, that's another story. Anyway, all I asked, look, I said anyway again, excusez-moi, as they say in French. Pardonnez-moi, was it? Pardonnez-moi. Oh, sorry. Okay, okay, fine. All I asked them for was 2 years and fixed a date for 2 years in the future. Even in my imagination, I'm never too far away from reality, you see. Why did I ask for 2 years? Because it would take 2 years at least to come up with a capable squad of 16 to 20 Indian players to be able to compete. I surmised that with the country at my back and call, did I say at my back and call? No, I meant to say at my beck and call. I'd appoint people that I could trust and that I had the heart. Sorry, let me have a drink of water. Excuse me, please. Okay, here I'm having a drink of water. I've got less time, sorry guys. I've got less time, just bear with me. Okay, I don't think I'll edit it. I mean, if you want me to edit all this stuff afterwards, please tell me. If you don't like these stoppages and all, tell me. Then I'll spend like 20 minutes afterwards just editing all this crap out. But let me carry on. I was going to say anyway once again. Something about me and saying anyway. Let me carry on. Where was I? Okay, 2 years. Why? Because it would take 2 years at least to come up with a capable squad of 60. Did I say that? Did I just say that? I think I got it now. I think I had said beck and call, right? Let me just start that sentence again. I think I said that I surmised that with the country at my beck and call, I'd appoint people that I could trust and that had the ability to spot talent. I was also on the lookout for talented and tall players, for my squad would have space only for a few players that could be termed to be of short stature. Let me digress. Good. Sorry. I'm really digressing from a digression, although everything is related to India and the Football World Cup. Okay, here I go. As I grew up playing and coaching players from the ages of 5 till 60, I learnt a few things. That the focus on finding competent players should be on players between the ages of 16 and 35. This should bring in an array of players and quite a large number to choose from. The problem in India is that real life takes over and a player that may have talent can't pursue his or her... Did I say pursue? Why did I say pursue? Isn't it pursue? Is it pursue? Time for editing. Surely. I think I'll just come up with, what's it called? A poll? A text poll, is it? Some people say poll, but I'm sure it's poll. I'll just edit this next time, please. I'm just pretty tired. You must be pretty tired as well, wherever you're listening to me from. Be careful if you're driving a car. Be careful. I know sometimes I wonder how people can actually listen and drive a car at the same time. But I'm expecting you to be careful. I know I'm not ready to tell you to be careful, but please be careful. If not for anyone else, but for your family. And if you're on your own, be like me. Only want to die when you want to die, not when you're being forced to die and I'm talking crap. Let me carry on. I've said that anyway. Let me say anyway again, and let me carry on. I've said that again. Please, this is probably going to be my last podcast. You guys are going to get so sick of me. But I did ask you, please ask me to delete everything and I'll delete it. I'm waiting for a future where I can actually interview people, and it won't be edited. It might be live also. Oh, dreams. Where was I? Okay. I was talking about 16 and 35, right? Okay, this would bring, my notes. Problem here is that even if I found a number of players who are good enough to turn professional, the problem in this country is that the professional system in India is so poor that the dreams of these talented players will turn to caca. That's why I would need money. If I found a talented young man that wanted to have a career as a professional footballer but couldn't, as his parents maybe wanted him to become an engineer or a doctor, or maybe that's a path he chose to be able to earn money as an adult. Whatever the case, I'd need money to persuade him to change his plans to play for the country. If I found a man in his 30s, then I'd need cash to pay him to ensure he has money to look after his family, as he'd have to leave his job to train. I must interrupt myself to remind you, my kind and patient listener, not to look for loopholes to the build-up of the science fiction story. You do remember a bit of time ago I'd made up a story as to why I'd have to create a short-term plan to turn India into world beaters. Right, remember that plan, the alien and the planet ZXZ, Rusian, called in their language? I mean, if you think about this story, aliens want to play India to win the rights to take over the world. Really? But that is me. And let me carry on. Let me say it once more. Anyway, that's my short-term plan. You can see why it wouldn't work in the long term. It's still a shot in the dark and there's no conveyor belt system to supply players. Apart from the selected 20 players, there are no replacements in case of injuries. I mean, you could then go with 30 players. Easily possible. Looking for 30 players in a 16 to 30 age group of potentially talented football players, there should be millions of players. This is India we're talking about, and most of the country is crazy about football. When these players get old, where are the players to replace them? Is there going to be a selection process every 4 years or every decade? What are these players going to do in between the World Cups? How will they stay fit? Where will they train? Contracts will have to be made up with some professional club somewhere, and the problems keep coming up. But you see, nobody can say that I didn't have a plan. Which is why what I'm going to say next is not for the faint-hearted. The only way is a long-term plan and focusing on creating a professional league that covers the entire country. It doesn't stop there. This entire setup should be supported by an extremely strong grassroots project. This means every interested school in the country will be asked to seriously look at football in a professional way. Academies will have to be created. Now you understand why I said it'll take 20 to 25 years. I've even made plans on how this project can work. In the first 5 years, the current professional clubs and any other team that isn't professional but has the possibility of turning pro will be asked to provide proof of competency. What is this proof of competency? In short, the fact that they have their own ground with a stadium to seat spectators, or can build one, or have the means to rent one for a long period. They also should provide proof of sustainability, that they can pay their players, staff and travel the country to play matches for at least 2 years. They should also have a strong youth system that is connected to the bigger schools and academy program. These teams say 10 to 20 of them will become the country's premier division. The only way for this to grow is if the people of the country watch the matches, either by going to physically watch the matches or subscribe to watch them on TV. Seeing the way Indians can suddenly support a newly formed club in any sport with so much pride that I thought only decades of support would create, then supporting the project should be a cinch. It should take around a double decade for the standard of the game to equal the top nations' world standards, assuming that all the top nations and nations below that are working hard towards improving their levels too. I'd love for rugby to be looked at the same time too. Why? That's another topic I'll be looking at later. Which sports are more suitable for India to focus on? But that'll come at another time. As for that long-term plan, that's it. A most Herculean task, right? I can't see any other way. Wait, there is. The Indian way. Give up on football and invent a new game called football. Pronounce football as many Indians pronounce football as well. Introduce it to the world and be world champions, because no other nation will pick it up, or some dodgy nations will, and they'll be crap. So India can only qualify but be world champions of football. Yeesh. That's all there is to say, I think. But wait. Then the other countries will become better at it, and we'd have to invent another new game. And bye! Salagahle.